Hello everyone, I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Andover, Minnesota in the US, and today I'd like to share with you some outside-the-box ideas that I created with the contents of the February 2021 Bouquet of Hope Paper Pumpkin Kit. These monthly kits are delivered to my mailbox each month and contain everything I need to make fun, creative paper crafting cards and projects. This month's kit contains supplies for making 9 beautiful full-size cards, 3 of 3 different designs, and here are the kit contents. Each kit includes a publication like this one with directions, tips, photos, details about the kit, and a link to a how-to video, so you can assemble the cards as intended. Each kit also includes 2 items that can be used over and over again even after the consumables are used up: a mini ink pad and an exclusive stamp set. A clear block, which was included free with my first kit for mounting and using my stamps, and my scissors are the only extra items needed. Paper pumpkin kits are just $22 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included. You control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. These kits are produced through Stampin' Up!, so the colors, images, and supplies always coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. In fact, the enclosed flyer this month highlights our flower and field paper as one of those coordinating products. It's free with a $50 purchase of Stampin' Up! Product now through the end of February. I'll be using some of these as I share my alternate projects. You can find these items listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look below for links to learning more about paper pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you'll see even more project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of the projects that I'm going to share with you today. You'll notice in this video that I substitute that mini ink pad and clear block from my first kit for this larger version of the ink pad and some ergonomic blocks. You won't need these, of course, but they are available products from Stampin' Up! And they're a bit easier for me to use while I demonstrate in my video. Your kit also comes with adhesives, but you'll see me using additional ones such as my seal adhesive for ease in demonstrating. I'm excited to create with you, so let's get started. The first thing that I like to do when I get my kits is I open them up, take out all my parts and pieces, punch out items, die cuts, labels, and kind of assess how many pieces I have, how they go together, look at the cards. I even hang on to some of these pieces because you could use this, in a design. Even though it's meant to be a negative piece and be thrown away, you could totally incorporate that into your projects. So I also go through the step-by-steps, and I look to see what advice I could maybe give to make things easier or whatever. One of the things that I noticed in here is that the glue dots are showing through the vellum in these the 4 corners. Something that I would recommend is to adhere your flowers and your words in place before putting the vellum onto your card. And by doing that, you have areas underneath these flowers where you could put the adhesive instead, and then you won't see those little glue dots in there. So what I'm going to do with my first card is I'm going to take some pieces that were meant for the cards and kind of try to use less, okay? Because the less I use on my projects for different things, the more I have to go further. I also like to take these envelopes and use them as designer papers, especially if they're lined envelopes. You can see that this has like a designer paper option all the way through. If you cut the envelope open, you've got some fun paper in there. So then I can substitute in my medium-sized Whisper White envelopes instead and have extra supplies. Okay, so we're going to take this card base here, and we're going to grab these words, and we're going to put them onto the front of the card. These words in and of themselves are beautiful, and so you really don't need to have all of these other items around it. I'm going to eliminate most of the vellum, in fact. I'm going to just cut out a small piece of the vellum. I've already started cutting it down, and that's going to go right here. It's going to lighten up the background a bit so that the words stand out a bit more, but it's not going to have all of the gold around it, which I think kind of takes away from the words anyways. So let's trim down this vellum a little bit more. So what I've done is I've trimmed off the sides, and I've trimmed them off pretty much exactly right to the edge of that foil design. I've done that on purpose because I'm saving those long edges for another project, and then I took and cut off an inch on each side in that direction. I'll just be using the middle piece here. I've also taken and I've trimmed around the words thinking of you. Now you get 3 sheets of these because you only need 3 of the large words. You're making 3 of each of the designs here. But you do have extra choices here. So if you want to, you could, make a card in German, a card in French. And so you have lots of that too. Plus around here, this is sticky black paper. So you could punch out little flowers or little, designs or whatever, die cut designs, and you'll have ready-made stickers ready to go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the space that is around the word of my sticker, and I'm going to peel that away. So I'm removing the negative space. And with these tiny little areas in here, I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm just going to kind of bend the design a bit, or bend the sticker a bit, and just kind of get under there, grab it. Now as I'm removing some of these pieces, I've also noticed that there's usable little shapes in here. I mean, I could see teardrops or I don't know, droplets of something, oil. What's black and looks like liquid? I don't know. So there's that option too, to use the negative spaces. Why did I take all the negatives out of here? Because people have been having trouble, I've noticed, pulling these stickers off as is like this because they're stretching out and they're possibly ripping. They're very delicate, thin designs. So by doing this, you can take this product called Press and Seal, Glad Press and Seal. And I've just taken a bit of it. It's meant for, it's kind of like a plastic wrap for dishes, and you just put it over the top of your design like this, and then you rub to make sure that it's going to stick to the sticker. So it's grabbing that black paper, the black sticker paper. And then from this side, you're just going to peel kind of at a 90-degree angle. You're pulling upward, and you're leaving the sticker onto the press and seal. But now you have this wonderful way of applying this design to your vellum like this, okay? So we're going to go ahead and just add that on here. And then we can carefully peel away at a 90-degree angle the words, and they stay in the shape that they were intended to be. Now, why did I put the sticker on the vellum first? Because again, that whole idea of now I have areas where I can add adhesive. And again, this is a very thin design, so you could use like a glue. You could use the glue dots in the kit. They are pretty tiny. You can come behind there and do that. And you'll notice that I didn't put the glue behind every single area of the words. You don't need to do that. You just need enough to hold it in place. This card by itself would be striking, wouldn't it? Just beautiful. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some floral design to it. So I'm going to grab a piece from the kit that has a square corner. And I'm going to take and place this floral design on top of it, turn it over, and then use my paper snips to cut along that corner. And you want to get, you want to have a 90-degree angle in that spot there. So be careful to make sure you've got a guide. And now I've got a saving technique for adding floral designs. It looks like the flower is peeking out behind a layer. We can do the same thing with this piece if we use that corner sparingly. So you can see we've already cut here, so we do not want to have this edge or this edge. We're going to go corner to corner with a straight cut, because that is going to eliminate the section of this piece that we cannot use. That leaves us with this. So after doing that, you really only have a part that you can have kind of coming out to the side here, and I think I want to have it showing about that much. So grab it like this and we'll trim right along here. And now we have some fun floral accents coming out from the corners. I'm going to bring in a product that is one of my go-to embellishments right now. It's called the, what is it called? The Artistry Blooms sequins, the adhesive back sequins. And there's a couple different choices in here that I think would work really well. I'm going to grab my Take Your Pick tool and grab a few of these beautiful sequins. And we could say that the card is complete. I think it looks stunning this way. We used less products on one card base, and then that gives us the opportunity to bring in, you know, any other kinds of cardstock that we have. This is our Mary Merlot, which is a color that coordinates with the kit, but you could use Whisper White, you could use Basic Black. Make different card bases, and then add those extra pieces up to have more cards from your kit. We're going to do something special with this card though. So instead of just leaving it like this, we're going to bring in a scrap of Whisper White. I'm sorry, did I say Whisper White? We've changed over to a new white. Basic White. And I'm going to cut this to 1/2 inch wide. And then I'm going to score it. And right now it is about 5.5 inches long. It's not exactly, and that's okay. But we're going to score, and we're going to make score marks every 1 1/8 inch. So 1 1/8. I'll move it in this direction now that I've got something to hang on to. So that would be 2 2/8, or 2 1/4, 3 3/8, and 4 4/8, or 4 1/2. And I've got this extra little end here, and it doesn't matter if it's 1/2 inch or a full inch, but it's enough where we can connect this piece together onto itself like this to make a little pop-up part. So I'm going to grab that seal adhesive. Connect the ends like that. And now I know that it's going to pop up straight because I connected it with the adhesive when it was flat. That's important. This piece is going to go inside here, and it's going to pop up a bouquet. So this bouquet has to be able to attach into the card like so, so that the card will close without anything peeking out. That means that we have this, this pop-up piece is going to connect underneath it like that. And when we open up the card, it's going to be able to pop up in this direction. So we only want to put adhesive on the underside, and I think I'm going to make the underside where it got connected here. That will work. And then we'll just allow it to dry a little bit. So it's one of those pop-ups that you kind of have to, it's not connected to both sides. So when you're opening it like this, you're going to go like that, and the gravity is going to help to lift it to give it more of a pop-up look. It's not going to go straight up. We just want it to lift up and kind of come off the surface of the card as it's done. Now I'm going to grab a couple more sequins and just kind of put them around that area just to kind of give it a little bit more sparkle on the inside. And here it is completely done. sparkle on the outside, some sparkle on the inside, and a bouquet that pops up. How fun is that? Next project. I shared a card recently with other Stampin' Up! Products on my blog, and it's called the Double Fold Gate Card. And it's made from a portion of 12 by 12 designer paper. So we're going to go ahead and do this kind of design using the Flower and Field designer paper, the Celebration freebie with a $50 order now through the end of February, with this kit. So what I've already done is I've made sure that my cardstock goes to 12 inches, and that's what our designer paper, a lot of our designer papers are, is 12 inches long. And then I've cut in this direction at 5.5. Then I put score lines in at 2 inches and 4 inches from this side, and 2 inches and 4 inches from this side, so that I have this type of fold. Okay, it's like two little Z folds, and it's forming that gate. The next step is to take and either grab a ruler, or you can use the ruler on your trimmer. But we're going to look at this length here, the 5.5 inch length, grab a pencil, and we're going to mark the halfway point. And that is right about there, and right about here, which is 2 3/4 inches is halfway. Then we're going to cut, and we're going to go from that mark to this point. You could either go from here to here or here to here. It doesn't matter, because right now they're even, so it doesn't matter which is the top and which is the bottom. I guess we're making this the top of the card. You're going to line up that mark with this score line intersection to the top of the card, and we're going to cut. So you can see here, we've cut from that to here. And this piece could be used as a guide. Let's say your paper's super dark like mine is. You can just flip it over and use that as a guide for cutting the other side. But I can see my marks. I'm sure you guys can't, though. It's kind of dark. Now don't throw away these pieces. Don't cut them up. We're going to use them in our card design. They're actually going to get applied here and here. So we're going to use this two-way glue again. I'm sorry, not two-way glue. The multi-purpose liquid glue. Two-way glue, gosh, that's a product we had a long time ago. I keep naming off retired products while I'm demonstrating today. Okay, this piece is going to go on this side. I'm just going to kind of shove it into that corner, make sure it's lined up along the bottom edge here. And because it's the two-way glue, I can shift it a bit before it completely dries. I can fold my card base, make sure it's in there really well. Let's do the same thing to the other side. And you're going to have to be patient with it, because you are putting a layer over another layer, and you're asking it to bend with that layer underneath. So you're going to have a little bit of puckering, and that's okay. All right, so there's the front of our card, and now we can decorate it. So I'm going to bring in these pieces here, these pieces, and I'm going to use a portion of this card base. So there is the front of our card, there's the inside. We need a layer here that we can write on. So we're going to cut this piece down. We're going to cut it to 3.5 inches wide by 5 inches tall. Do not throw these away. You can use this for another project. And we're going to have this piece on the inside. We're going to have a flower piece on the inside, and on the outside we're going to have our label and a couple other flower accents. Now when you saw this card, you could see that those accents here were attached to one side. We're going to do it so that we have them attached to both sides. Let's stamp first. Let's stamp our sentiments. So from our stamp set, we have this nice long one that says, "I'll always be here for you," and another one that says, "Sorry for your loss." We'll ink those up with Tuxedo Memento black ink. This is a must-have item for all Paper Pumpkin people. I mean, if you're trying to think of $50 worth of product to add to your wish list so you can get this free designer paper here, this is a nice basic black color to use. It works well with alcohol-based markers, blends markers. Let's make sure this is straight. And did you know that this can stamp in either direction? It's positioned this way in the finished cards on the flyer, but it also fits this way. Let's start with the inside piece. We're going to take our sentiment piece and just kind of go through the middle. Don't put adhesive all the way to the edges because we're going to do a little bit of tucking. And that'll stick in here with some space to write. And then we're going to cut our flower in half. So we're doing that saving technique again. But now you can see we've got flowers on the inside layer of our card. And yes, you could, by the way, use the white side if you would rather not use one of your label pieces. But I wanted to show you that technique that you can do, you know, if you're tucking again or if you're cutting a piece in half. Okay, the front here needs this piece, and then we just have to figure out where the flowers are going to go. And what I ended up needing to do was to switch sides here because I have a leaf. I actually had a little bit more sticking out there. I adjusted it on the inside. But we have some stuff sticking out there that we want to cover up. This piece has to be able to attach to this portion of the card. There's not a lot there, so I recommend a glue dot, something strong, or this stuff again. So we're just going to put a little bit of adhesive right behind here. Make sure it doesn't seep out. So now that's attached to the part that's going to open and close. And now this is going to go here, and this is going to go about there. So we move this away again. We can see that we have plenty of surface area to attach this, so I'm going to just go ahead and use my seal adhesive. So now you can see how the flowers are on each side. And then this piece here, I want that to stand out. So I'm going to add dimensionals behind just the left side of it. And we better check here too. Yep, because it has to make sure, we have to make sure that it's up on just this portion here. So that'll work. And I'm adding 2 dimensionals here, and I'm adding 1 to the outside of this piece. I know that they're far enough away from each other where they won't conflict, but I'm also making sure that I have adhesive right up to that edge. And there is that finished card. This next project is a little bit more detailed, has a few more steps. We're going to use one of the Love You Always boxes, and they look like little matchboxes. So to fold the matchboxes, you're going to fold in all spots except for the outer section of all 4 sides. So fold in, out. In, out. Okay, so just there's first score line, first score line, first score line, first score line from the outside, and those are all folding out. Then you're going to start with 2 tabs. You're going to bring those in. You're going to take one of the sides and bring it in like that. You're going to take the other 2 tabs, bring them in, and the side comes down like that. Now to hold it in place, we're going to start first with the shorter side, and we're going to bring that in and down, and it has a little bit of a slit in there, and that is where this piece is going to come in and connect. Okay, so the box holds together by itself without any adhesive. This here is the sleeve, and all you have to do for that is just pop it and slide it on. We're going to do something a little bit different with the sleeve though. In fact, we're going to do something a lot different with it. We're going to turn this into something that looks kind of like a picnic basket. So we're going to bring in our trimmer and we're going to score without the scoring blade that is actually part of the box. Okay, so we're going to bring this to the 1.5 inch mark, which is right here. And we're going to grab a tool called a bone folder, and we're going to press and score with that. That's going to give you a lot deeper of a crease than what you could get with the scoring blade on here. We're going to flip it over. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. And then we're going to do the same thing to the opposite end. So 1.5 inches on each end. Gotta love how glitches sometimes occur. So I thought I was recording and I wasn't. So let me explain to you what I did next. I then put a score line, folding this flat down. I put a score line so that the score of my box, where it was, you know, right here, was lined up with the 1/4 inch mark here. Okay, and I put a score line using my bone folder right there. And then I added some tear and tape adhesive just above that score line, so not meeting up with it. I want to make sure that it's not connected because there's going to be a slight white gap with the layer that we put on top of this, so we want to have it slightly up higher, and it is going to overlap across the top where the score line of your box is. You're going to do the same thing to this side, so you're going to put a score 1/4 inch down from this corner, 1/4 inch, and then you're going to put your tear and tape adhesive on there. Then you're going to put just a little bit of seal adhesive, or you could use the tear and tape again, but you're going to put some here and you're going to put some here. Again, making sure that you're leaving some white here. The next step was to take the pieces from that vellum foil sheet, and this piece I already explained to you in the beginning. I trimmed that off. So I trimmed that off from here, just cut straight down with my trimmer. Then I had this piece left. Again, thought I was recording. I had this piece from this side. Whoops. Okay. And I had another piece 1 inch wide from this side. I only needed one of those pieces and I cut it in half. So it's now 1/2 inch wide each. I think I've cut you up. Sorry about that. This piece is going to go directly onto the top of the box, connecting with that seal adhesive that's down already. And you want to make sure it looks pretty even between the two corners, and that it looks pretty even as far as how far it extends out. On this one, we're going to adhere the side that is not foiled, because it's going to get covered up anyways. And you can check underneath to make sure it looks pretty even on each side. Okay. Then you're going to take an envelope and you're going to cut it open. Let's grab this pink one here. And when we open it, you're going to cut where the pink meets the white. Toss that out to the side. You need this piece to be 3 1/4 inches wide. And then we're going to cut where the white meets the pink again. And we're going to cut this piece to 4. So we now have a piece that is 3 1/4 inches by 4. We're going to score parallel to the long side at 1/4 inch on each side. This is going to go on top of our box. So these score lines hopefully will meet up with the top of our box. We need one more piece from here, which is why it was very important to cut where the pink met the white here, because this piece is going to be 7/8 inch. We want to avoid this score line, And we also want to get as much pink as we can. We're going to trim off just a little bit of pink from this end, and we can leave this as is. We can trim that later on. We're going to bring this back in. We're going to peel off the tear and tape backing. In fact, let's do this. Let me just make sure here. Yep, that looks lined up. Okay, so now we're going to come in fact, see how I'm not tearing this away yet? Because I want to have a place to secure this as I bring this down on top of the box. And you can still see that faint score line in there. That looks good. Now we can take and peel this side away. So now we have these fun little embellishments sticking out on the end. Another thing that you can use instead of that foil is you could use a little swatch of this. So if you wanted to cut away some of that, that would be a really fun, pretty accent coming out on each end. And then we're going to do some hand trimming. So you're going to bring your paper snips in and you're going to cut along that score line, leaving an exposed little section of white there. Then you're going to trim up and in to the top of the box in these 4 areas. And that's going to connect with the score line that's on top that we already made originally. Just going to do a little bending back and forth just to get that score line going. We're going to grab one of these 2 pieces here and we're going to trim it so that it's 1 inch wide. And there is an edge that you cut by hand, right? Here's, you can tell it's a little crooked there. So I want to make sure that I'm lining up my straight edge and trimming off my crooked edge. And then we're going to make some crease marks in this direction. So from each end we're going to score at 3/8 of an inch. 3/8, 3/8, and then from this score line to the inside here, we're going to go to 7. We're going to go to the 7/8 inch mark. So we're going to line up this score line with the 7/8 inch mark. And it doesn't have to be exactly in these spots. I just thought that this looked best. This score line is going to line up with the 7/8 inch mark. And then I put seal adhesive along the back side of that envelope liner strip. And for this piece, I'm putting on tear and tape just on the end. And I'm going to make sure that it's a really clean piece of tear and tape at each end. So I'm using my scissors. And you'll see that the math worked out just perfectly for all those pieces. So this here is almost done. I've just got a couple little gilded gems which will act and look like little handles for our picnic basket flaps. And then the last step is to fill the other side of your basket with candy. You can slide this over the top and you have this cute little Easter basket / picnic basket that you can give. And here would be another one. I don't have this one filled with candy yet, but you can see how regal the mossy meadow green color looks too. It's a very detailed project, but if you're looking for a unique basket to make with Stampin' Up! Products, you could try these fun little Love You Always Matchboxes. This was a month that my subscribers got a gift from me, and inside the gift I had samples from 2 packs of designer paper. These are samples from the True Love designer paper pack, and these are samples from the Flower and Field paper pack. By the way, forgive me, I wrote Field and Flower. If you're one of my subscribers, forgive me. So I'm going to bring in all the pieces that you could get in that pack and all the pieces that you could get in this pack. And I'm bringing out the colors that coordinate in this paper pumpkin kit. Show you how easy it is just to make some simple cards. So if you take these papers, either one coordinates pretty well with this kit, and you just pair them up with either basic black or basic white cardstock, or you have some of the coordinating colors, you can make an instant card. I'm also going to bring in a couple punches. So I have this punch, which coordinates with the label from this kit. In fact, it is the exact same size. And then I have the 2-inch circle punch. So I thought I would use those and put together some really quick cards. So I've finished all 10 of these cards, and these are a great example of how when you're done with the consumables from your kit, you've used up all your pieces or most of your pieces, you've at least got your stamps left. So getting this Flower and Field paper would be a great investment right now because it's so pretty. So on this card here, I just have the Bumblebee cardstock, the Flower and Field, some basic white cardstock, and then I've got the stamp images. Oh, and I've added the punch, of course, right? Here's again the 2-inch circle punch, that same paper using basic white cardstock, folded in the opposite direction. Here, I've assumed that I've got some leftover sequins, so I've added a couple sequins, used the coordinating story label punch here, and some stamps on the inside. With this one, I'm using the Just Jade cardstock. Again, that same Flower and Field paper. Same thing here. So the sequins, the stamps. Oh, and then I've added a leftover flower on the inside of that card. For this one, I've used a leftover label, added some of the black sequins also. And then for this one, instead of the black sequins, pretend that I've run out of the black sequins. I've grabbed those Artistry Blooms sequins and added those for just a little pop of extra color and pizzazz. And I've used the image stamps from this kit. This color, by the way, is Rococo Rose. And on the black and white papers, I decided to go with the less busy side. Instead of the floral side, I flipped them over and just focused on the patterns. And I also put them on some basic black cardstock with a basic white layer on the inside. So here you have a leftover label and some leftover sequins. On this one, I cut out some pieces from this piece here and just stuck it above and below a white strip of basic, or a strip of basic white cardstock, added some sequins. Here, I'm assuming that I had like a leftover flower piece. And on this one, you might as well use up those messages. You know, send somebody a card in French and German. Just, why not? They're extra pieces, don't waste them. And then I've got some of those Artistry Blooms sequins on there. So I have one other project to share using this fun designer paper, or if you don't have it, you can always use the envelope liner paper because that's thin enough and a nice pattern. We're going to bring in some Ghirardelli Chocolates, And we're going to trim down these papers so that they are 1 3/4 inch by 5 1/4 inches. We're just going to cut a few of those patterns. After cutting all those strips, then you're going to grab your adhesive and you're just going to run a trail of it down. You're going to take some of the tear and tape adhesive and you're going to put a strip of it on one end. Now this piece, by the way, can be a little bit shorter. It can actually be about 1 inch shorter and it'll still work. Mine is 5 1/4 inches just because that is the length that was in the envelope that I gifted to my subscribers. But it could be 4 1/4 by 1 3/4. Then you're going to take this piece and you're going to lay it across the front of your chocolate. You're going to wrap this end last because that has the strongest tape. So we're going to bring this in and we're going to bring this in. And then you're going to put a strip of tear and tape right along here and you're going to connect it so that you have a string of chocolates that are all wrapped. Now this top one is not wrapped yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take an envelope liner leftover that I had and I'm going to trim off that scored section. Then I'm going to go to 1 3/4 inches this way and cut that off. And then because this is super long, I'm just going to go ahead and tear off or cut off about 1/2 inch on each end. I'm doing it from each end because I want it to be equal. And now we have a piece that we can stamp on. So let's take this one that has not been wrapped yet, and we're just going to go like this just to kind of give our chocolate candy wrap some score lines in there. Okay, so now we know where we can stamp. We're going to take this back off, and we're going to go ahead and stamp in the center. Now, up to this point, I have not used the Mossy Meadow ink that comes with the kit. I've been using the Tuxedo Black. I'm just a big fan of the black ink. And in fact, I'm still not going to use it, but I am going to bring in 2 colors that coordinate with these papers, Just Jade and Mary Merlot. And we're still going to use the black. I'm going to grab some stamps from this stamp set. So we've got this image here, the little leaves, and then on this image right here, if you look, I'll always be here, and then you've got that last section that says For You. So we're just going to ink up with our black ink the words For You. Let's do that actually after we've stamped the flowers. So we're going to stamp the flowers in Mary Merlot. And then we're going to stamp a couple leaves in the Just Jade. And then we'll come in with this ink and we'll just ink up using the edge of our ink pad the words For You. And we'll stamp that right underneath. And now we have a cute little wrap to go around our candy. And then I just added a few of the black sequins in the centers of the flowers. I'm going to fold it up kind of like a little zigzag, and I can set it down in front of somebody, you know, to give them a little gift. It's just kind of a fun little, oh, look at that, lots of candy. It's just a fun surprise when you open it. Now that you've watched my video, I hope you can see that there's so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so much more with these super affordable kits. I hope you've gained some inspiration from what I've shared. Thank you so much for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more paper pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so that you can view close-up photos of these projects, see photos of other paper pumpkin kit ideas in future and past posts, and see many other great ideas that I share using Stampin' Up! Products. You'll find my direct website link in my description below. If you want to get spoiled with extra goodies, gifts, prizes, and extra exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas from myself and the other creative Stampin' Up! Demonstrators in our PPX crew, remember to get your subscription started with me as your demonstrator using the link below. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.